Now coming to the other parts of what? Of the eye, or the inner parts of the eye, we need to know that an eye has what? Has a lens. So what must be known about the lens is that the lens is elastic and it is bioconvex. The lens again is transparent. So now coming to the functions of the lens. The first function of the lens that we can make mention of is that a lens plays a role in refracting what? The light rays, so that the light rays are able to fall onto the retina. So now the lens plays again in what we call accommodation, that I'm going to talk about later on, as I have indicated. So now this lens, as you can see it is held in position by means of the two fibers. So now these two fibers are called the ligaments. So now these ligaments, they also play a role in what is called accommodation. They are called the suspensory ligaments. And then, from there, we do have what? We do have a cavity which is found in front of the lens. So the cavity which is found in front of the lens is called the aqueous humor cavity. This aqueous humor cavity is filled by means of a fluid which is called the aqueous humor. And then in the middle of the iris, there is an opening there. This opening, which is found in the center, is called what? The pupil. We will talk about the function of the pupil later on. And then we do have what? Another part behind the lens, which is called the vitreous cavity. This vitreous cavity is filled with a fluid which is called the vitreous humor. Let me just go back and talk about the functions of the aqueous humor. So now the aqueous humor is a fluid. So being a fluid, it is able to refract the light rays so that they fall onto the retina. So now another function of the aqueous humor is that it plays a role in maintaining the curved structure of the cornea, or we can basically say that this aqueous humor plays a role in maintaining the shape of the eye. And then the pupil will allow the light rays to do what? To pass through. And then here at the back, I said it is the vitreous humor. So now the function of the vitreous humor is also to do what? To refract the light rays so that they fall onto the retina. And then from there, the other function of the vitreous humor is that it plays a role in maintaining the shape of the eyeball. So now the vitreous humor, it's a jelly-like fluid that you were born with. So now once this fluid can escape the eye, your eye won't be in a position of maintaining the round shape, but instead it will collapse. And then once this fluid has escaped out of the eye, it is not going to be replaced again because you were born with. So now, what I want us to talk about now, since we are done with the structure of the eye, but let me just talk about a thin membrane that lines the eye, which is called the conjunctiva. This conjunctiva, it's a membrane that has the pain receptors, meaning that it is very sensitive to pain. So now if maybe too much dust can happen to enter your eye, the conjunctiva will be the one to be stimulated first, because I said it has the pain receptors. It is able to respond towards what? Towards pain. So now it is the membrane that actually gets inflamed as a result of the bacteria or viruses or the germs. So now once this membrane is inflamed, your whole eye as well as the inside part of your eyelids will be reddish in what? In color. And then a doctor will say you suffer from a condition which is called conjunctivitis. So let us now talk about what we call pupillary mechanism. In your eye, there are basically two structures which play a role in what is called pupillary mechanism. So the two structures which play a role in what is called pupillary mechanism are, number one, the iris, and then number two, it is the pupil. But before we can talk about how a pupillary mechanism occurs, I think it is proper for us to define what a pupillary mechanism is. So now, pupillary mechanism refers to the process whereby the diameter of the pupil is altered or is changed so as to control the amount of light entering the eye. Remember that too much light can damage the inner parts of what? Of the eye. So now the size of the pupil must be regulated in such a way that sufficient light enters what? The eye. Again, when you walk in a dim light, in order for you to see clearly, the size of the pupil has to be what? To be bigger, so that enough light enters what? The eye. Okay. Let us now explain this pupillary mechanism. So now we are going to explain pupillary mechanism when a person walks in a bright light. So now, what you need to know is that when a person walks in a bright light, number one, the circular muscles are going to do what? To contract. So the circular muscles are going to do what? To contract. All these circular muscles are going to do what? To contract. And then when the circular muscles contract, obviously the size of the pupil will be what? Will be smaller. And then the radial muscles will start to do what? To relax. And then less light will do what? Will enter the eye. And then, okay, when a person walks in dim light, the size of the pupil has to be what? To be bigger. So now, what will make the size of the pupil to be bigger? It's when the circular muscles relax. That is, they will pull backwards a little bit, and then the radial muscles will start to do what? To relax. This will make the size of the pupil to be what? To be bigger, and then enough light will do what? Will enter the eye, and then the person will be able to see in the dark. So now, this is it's a very an important exam question. In the exam, you might be given the two eyes, whereby in one eye, the pupil is constricted, and then in the other eye, the pupil is dilated. And then a question might say, okay, between the two eyes, where does a person walk in dim light? You will have to say that a person walks in dim light where the pupil of the eye has done what? Has dilated. And here the pupil of the eye has constricted. You need to know that these people, a very bright light. So now these people will constrict so that less light will do what? Will enter the eye. And then here the people will dilate so that too much light enters what? Enters the eye. Okay, we are done with the pupillary mechanism. Now we need to explain another important concept, which is called accommodation. Remember that when I was busy talking about the structure of an eye, I did say the ciliary body and the ciliary muscles, they play a role in what is called accommodation. So another structure that plays a role in accommodation, it is the suspensory ligaments and the lens. Okay, let me explain clearly to you what is this accommodation. So now, accommodation refers to the ability of the lens to change shape so as to focus clearly on the nearby objects. These are objects which are less than 6 meters from the eyes, as well as the distant what objects. These are objects which are more than 6 meters away from what? Away from the eyes. So now we need to know how this accommodation takes place. Okay, when a person is reading a book, let me quickly explain to you what happens. When a person is reading a book, that is accommodation for what? For near vision. So now what will happen there is that the ciliary muscles will start first by doing what? By contracting. And then when the ciliary muscles contract, they will pull the whole ciliary body forward. And then that will cause the suspensory ligaments to do what? To slacken or to become what? To become loose. And then the lens will become what? More convex, or it will be more fatter. So now the tension on the lens will do what? Will decrease. And then what we need to know is that the refractive power of the lens will do what? Will increase. So now let us quickly check here as to what is written. Okay, when we view objects which are nearby, the ciliary muscles will do what? Will contract. The suspensory ligaments will do what? Will slacken. So now the tension on the lens will do what? Will decrease, because the lens now is more what? It's more fatter, or more what? More convex. So a fatter lens will be able to do what? To refract the light rays more than a less fat what? Lens. So now a clear image of the nearby object will be formed where? On the retina. So now this is accommodation as it happens to nearby objects. So now, okay, we said that accommodation does not only apply when a person looks at the nearby object, the objects. It also applies when a person views the objects which are at a distance. So now here, what is going to happen? Okay, number one, the ciliary muscles this time, they are not going to do what? They are not going to contract. But instead, the ciliary muscles will do what? Will relax. And then the ciliary body will move backwards a little bit. The backward movement of the ciliary body will cause the suspensory ligaments to be stiff or to be taut. So now this will cause the lens to be flatter or to be less convex. So now a less convex lens will refract the light rays less. So now let us quickly see as to what is it that is written here. It says, okay, when we view objects which are at a distance, the ciliary muscles will do what? Will relax. The suspensory ligaments will become taut. The tension on the lens will do what? Will increase, because the lens is now what? Is now flat. So now the refractive power of the lens will do what? Will decrease. So a lens that is flat won't refract the light rays in the same way as a lens that is more round or more fatter. But still, a clear image of the distant object will be formed on the retina. So that is all about accommodation. So now, here, you can be given the structure of what? Of an eye. And then from that structure of what? Of an eye, you can be asked to name the parts of what? Of the eye that play a role in what? In accommodation. You need to make mention of the ciliary muscle, the suspensory ligaments, as well as the lens. But when an exam question is based on pupillary mechanism, here you need to make mention of the iris as well as the pupil. An exam question can also ask you to mention the structures in the eye that play a role in refracting the light rays. You need to know that those structures are, number one, the cornea, the aqueous humor in front, the lens, and the vitreous humor behind the lens. But the structure that does the most refraction of the light rays, it is the cornea, followed by the lens, and then from there it will be the two humors, the aqueous humor as well as the vitreous humor. So now another thing that we need to know is how seeing takes place. So if you know the structure of an eye, it won't be difficult for you to explain how seeing takes place. So now here are the parts that you need to make mention of when explaining how seeing takes place. You need to talk about the cornea, the aqueous humor, the pupil, the lens, the vitreous humor, as well as the retina. So now let us quickly explain how the process of seeing takes place. Okay? The light rays from the environment will strike the cornea. They will get refracted by the cornea, and then from there they will go into where? Into the aqueous humor. From the aqueous humor, the light rays will pass through the pupil, the lens, and then from the lens it will be to the vitreous humor. From the vitreous humor, it will be to the retina. Remember that in the retina, there are rods and cones that I said they play a role in converting a light stimulus into what? Into an impulse. So now, the image of the object that you are looking at here at the retina, the image of the object is what? It's inverted. I mean that if it's a person, the image of the person will be inverted, and then it will be smaller than what? Than the real what? Object. So now from the retina, the impulse will move to where? To the optic nerve. So now this optic nerve contains what? The sensory neurons. So now the sensory neurons will take the impulses to the brain. Which part of the brain? The cerebrum, and then seeing will do what? Will take place. Okay, from there, what is left is the problems that we do experience with our eyes, or what we normally call them the eye defects. So now we are going to talk about a number of what? Of the eye defects. So now the first eye defect that we are going to talk about, it is a condition which is called myopia. So now if you don't want to say myopia, you can say near or short-sightedness. So now, when do we say a person suffers from myopia? We do say that a person suffers from myopia if this person is able to see the nearby objects clearly, but the distant objects are not clearly seen. So now, what could be the problem? The problem is that the light rays, they converge to form an image in front of what? In front of the retina. Remember that here it's our retina. So now a person who suffers from myopia, his or her image, or the image of the object that this person is looking at, falls in front of what? In front of the retina. So now, what could be the cause of myopia? The cause of myopia could be that the lens is what? Is too convex. The cornea, again, is what? Is too convex. And then the most commonest cause is that the eyeball is too elongated. So now, how can the situation be corrected? So now, the situation can be corrected by giving this person who suffers from myopia the spectacles that do have what? The concave what? The concave lenses. So now, the concave what? Lenses will correct the mistake so that the image is now able to fall directly onto what? Onto the retina. So another eye defect, it is what is called hypermetropia. If you don't want to say hypermetropia, you can say long-sightedness. A person who suffers from long-sightedness is able to see distant objects, but the nearby objects are not clearly seen. So now the problem with this person is that the light rays, they do converge to form an image behind what? Behind the retina. So now, what could be the cause? So now, the cause could be the lens is too flat. If the lens is not too flat, the curvature of the cornea is too flat, and then the eyeball is too short. So now, the commonest cause is that the eyeball is what is too short. So now, how can the situation be remedied? The situation will be remedied or will be corrected by giving this person the spectacles that do have what? The convex what? The convex lens. To do what? To correct the mistake. So the image of the object, instead of it falling behind the retina, the image of the object will now fall directly onto the retina. So now another eye condition is astigmatism. Astigmatism is caused by the cornea, which is not uniform. So now the mistake can be corrected by giving a person the lenses which are specially crowned to eliminate the irregularities. And then the other eye disorder is cataract. So now cataract is caused by what? By the clouding of what? Of the lens. The lens becomes opaque. So now if the lens is opaque, objects are not clearly seen. So someone who has cataract can be helped by giving him a lens. We call it what? An artificial lens, mean that that lens can be done what? Can be removed so that it can be replaced by what? By an artificial one. So I think it is all regarding the eye. We did explain everything. I did explain to you the structure of the eye, the most important parts of the eye, pupillary mechanism, accommodation, the eye defects. So in the next lesson, we are going to talk about an ear as an organ for hearing as well as balancing. Thank you.